Hi guys, welcome back to another video. In this one, I'm going to break down the 7 lightsaber forms used in the Star Wars universe, the special characteristics they each possessed, as well as who used them. Now this is a topic I have some general knowledge on, however I wish to understand it more intricately, so why not make a video to help others do the same. Without further delay, let's get into the video. Form 1, Shy Cho. Also known as the Way of the Sarlacc and the Determination form, Shy Cho is regarded as the most ancient and basic form of lightsaber combat. Due to this, nearly every Padawan begins their lightsaber training by learning this form. It is also the form that Jedi will revert back to in the event that all other forms of lightsaber combat have failed. The movements that this form relied on were focused on direct blows to either kill or maim, before evolving to be intended to disarm without killing. It was highly effective in an era when Jedi were encountering opponents who used more traditional melee weapons. Sindralig noted that, because the ancient Jedi did not have lightsaber-wielding enemies, Form 1 does not address the lightsaber-to-lightsaber combat. With that being said, Kit Fisto is a notable specialist of this specific form, as well as Obi-Wan, Qui-Gon, and Count Dooku being very proficient in the technique. Form 2, Makashi. Alternatively known as the contention form of the Way of the Ysalamiri, Makashi was created due to Form 1 becoming outdated, as lightsabers became more common amongst the Jedi and the Sith. It is regarded as a very graceful combat style, with strength and power making way for more controlled and careful strikes of the saber. This technique, coupled with complex footwork and impeccable balance, proved to be a great threat in one-on-one duels and close combat. It did possess its limitations, however, as technology developed around the galaxy and long-range attacks such as blaster bolts became more effective. The Makashi form found itself to be second-rate against them. Often used alongside more experimental lightsaber blades such as the curved hilts and crossguard, Form 2 was mastered by Count Dooku, who imparted his knowledge on Qui-Gon and Asajj Ventress. Other notable proficient users of the technique include the Grand Inquisitor and Ki-Adi-Mundi, who was the highlight of Order 66 in my opinion. Form 3, Sorosu. Less commonly known as the resilience form of the Way of the Mynock, Form 3 was an evolution of Makashi, created in response to the growing number of blasters in the galaxy. The form required the user to maintain tight, minimalized movements in order to never leave an opening for a projectile to pierce. When mastered, relying on agility, patience, and accuracy, Sorosu gave the user the ability to be impenetrable against long-range attacks, whether it be blaster or bullet. This is where the technique's effectiveness ceased, however, as it has no offense. This form has largely gained notability due to Obi-Wan Kenobi's mastery of it. However, Luminara Unduli was also a master of Sorosu, as well as Depa Billaba being extremely proficient in its use, passing on her knowledge to her apprentice Caleb Dume, later known as Kanan Jarrus. Form 4, Ataru. Ataru, also known as the aggression form or the Way of the Hawkbat. This style relies heavily on acrobatics assisted by the Force. Due to this, it is essentially a prerequisite that the user possesses a detailed knowledge of the Force to assist with the speed, agility, and strength required. It also did work in tandem with Form 3, however briefly, to at least provide the warrior with some basic defensive techniques. This form helped the practitioner thrive best in open spaces, as they would seek to end confrontations as quickly as possible with rapid strikes, often combined with somersaults and jumping strikes because of how physically taxing it was. Its limitations occurred when battles would extend and defense would often give way to offense, leaving the user open to attacks. The aggressive nature of Ataru meant that it was often the favoured method amongst the Sith, however many Jedi used it as well, an example of this being Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon in their battle with Maul. Other well-known users of this form are the Grand Inquisitor, Aayla Secura, Ezra Bridger, and the Chosen One, Anakin Skywalker. Form 5, Sheen/Gemso. Form 5 was split into two slightly different variants in Sheen and Gemso. It was derived from Form 3, as its users wanted a technique that gave them better offensive capabilities whilst maintaining the defense, an aspect that Form 4 was lacking. Sheen was the first of the two variants to appear, giving the warrior the ability to not only deflect blaster bolts and bullets, but to deflect them back towards the enemy. Many Jedi opted to implement this in their arsenal, regardless of their primary form. Gemso was created later on in response to the form lacking when combating foes in a melee. The similarity they both share is that their principles rely on redirecting the opponent's offense back against them. Form 5 as a whole was also incredibly demanding in a physical sense, as it required quick alterations from a defensive stance into aggressive attacks. Some Jedi felt the aggressive aspect of this form was crossing a line that felt unfaithful to the Jedi way. Whilst being skilled in Form 4, Anakin favoured Gemso as he did when he turned to the dark side and became Darth Vader. Ahsoka was proficient in the Sheen variant, as it allowed for the unique reverse grip. Form 6, Nema. The sixth form of lightsaber combat was the most balanced technique, drawing upon the previous forms to create this incredibly balanced version that had no weakness, yet no outstanding strengths. It was the last form to become widely accepted by the Jedi, however due to its properties, by the Clone Wars it had become the most used. Erring on the defensive side, it still possessed an array of offensive moves that allowed the user to not drain themselves in battle. Its basic nature often required the use of extensive Force knowledge implemented in tandem with it. The form focused on balance and peace, thus it wasn't the deadliest method, encouraging victory without domination, therefore avoiding the temptation of power. With all this said, being quite a peaceful form, it is quite ironic that one of its most famed specialists is none other than Darth Maul, where we see it put into practice for the first time in The Phantom Menace. Form 7, Jio/Varpad. Form 7, also known as the Ferocity form, was by far the most controversial of the 7 lightsaber combat techniques. Jio was its initial form, encouraging Jedi to embrace their emotions to fuel their offense, resulting in many falling to the dark side. Due to the desperate nature of the times, as there was a resurgence of the Sith approximately 4,000 years prior to the Clone Wars, the form was recognised by the Jedi Council, despite the controversy it caused. Post-war, the form was banned by the Jedi for a long time. This eased slightly over time, allowing those to practice it if they had sought permission from the Council. Whilst using Nema, Darth Maul was also extremely proficient in Jio. Varpad was created by Mace Windu, who saw the potential value in the form, it just required some alterations to better align with the Jedi Code. Windu was hesitant when it came to teaching Padawans this form due to the need to draw on aggression and passion without giving in to them. It posed potential danger as a result of its aggressive nature, however it was not nearly as reckless as Jio. Mace was joined by his apprentice, Jedi Master Depa Billaba, as the only 2 known masters of Varpad. Now, there may be a few big names that I haven't mentioned yet, and that's because I wanted to touch on the elite melee warriors known as Sword Masters. Mace Windu belonged to this group, as he had mastered all 7 forms of lightsaber combat, as well as his creation of Varpad. Obi-Wan was also a member due to his reputation as the greatest master of Form 3, much like Dooku with Form 2. Someone I haven't mentioned yet is Grandmaster Yoda. His mastery of all the forms made him known as one of the best sword masters of his time. Sindralig, portrayed by Nick Gallard, who was the lightsaber duel and stunt coordinator for the prequels, served the Jedi Order as Battle Master and a lightsaber instructor amongst other duties, also held the Swordmaster title. Anakin was regarded as quite possibly the greatest swordmaster in the history of the galaxy. He was able to defeat Count Dooku by his lonesome, before defeating Sindralig whilst dueling other Padawans simultaneously when he had become Darth Vader. Darth Sidious also held the title of Swordmaster. He had mastered all 7 forms whilst being effective in both hands. However, he had been shown to be vulnerable against fellow Swordmasters Mace Windu and Yoda. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I definitely learned a bit more about this galaxy far, far away that we all know and love, and I hope you did too. We recently hit 100 subscribers, which is an awesome milestone and hopefully the first of many. In light of this, I just wanted to take a moment to say a huge thank you to everybody who has either subscribed so far or taken the time to watch one of my videos, even if it was only for a few minutes. Connecting and conversing with you guys either on here, or on Twitter or Instagram has been truly awesome, and I hope there are many more interactions in the future. Until next time, may the Force be with you. Always.